Hello everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Somy Ayazi and I'm excited to be here after so many days and months. I'm excited to be attending in-person events this time around. Alrighty, so tonight I'll be talking about Azure From Recogniser. Before getting to the actual topic, a little bit of background about myself. My name is Somy Ayazi, nice to be meeting you all. A little bit of background about myself. So I've been in around software development for about 2 decades. Don't go around and try to guess my age. Currently, I'm an engineering manager with Atlassian. I am also doing a little bit of side hobby. I'm helping one of our user groups, APAC AI community. So I'm one of the co-organizers, and also I am one of the co-hosts of AI podcast. As you can tell, I'm all about AI. I'm excited about AI. I'm passionate about what AI can have an impact in our lives, and also where it can help our developers to build and empower and make more intelligent application and solution. My background is technically, I'm coming from a technical background, even though I'm not coding nowadays, but I'm working closely with the dev team and I'm all about tech. As I mentioned earlier, I'm keen to see where AI can touch and make an impact and drive values either to our developers quicker or even to our end users. So before we get to the session, please scan this QR code and install the app, and you can earn some points and you can be a potential winner of our prizes. I'm going to do the same myself with the prize that looks so exciting. Alrighty, so for tonight's session, I want to walk us through Azure From Recogniser. As I mentioned, I'm going to touch base on the areas that it is like low-code, no-code kind of features that has been available to us, for us either developers or being business users. So I'm trying to just highlight the values that AI drives internally within the technology and externally to our business user as well. So in this presentation, I'll give you an overview on Azure From Recogniser itself, what it has, what feature it has, and also I'm going to compare what has been added recently. So there are 2 versions available. I'm going to walk through those differences between the current version and the previous version that is coming soon. And also throughout the presentation, I'll give some examples of the use cases that we can use throughout our business. So it will be very high level, but I'll try to get to the technical side of it. And at the end, I'll jump into 2 most used use cases, and I'll explain them in more details. Alrighty, let's start the presentation. So Azure From Recogniser is actually cloud-based Azure applied AI services that uses machine learning to extract data and information from our text. It uses cognitive services underneath. I'm going to explain a little bit about Azure applied AI services, but it relies heavily on cognitive services. So we can use this to automate our data processing. We can analyze documents. We can extract the information. We can extract the layout of the documents. We can extract key value pairs. We can extract form and table content. The cool thing about it is that you can give the Azure From Recogniser services an unstructured data, and as a result, you will get a structured JSON format that you can use. So it's very handy for our developers to use, and it will kind of reduce the lead times for developers to prepare the underlying services for themselves to be able to actually start building something or extend the solution. So it actually ease up the process of preparation from months to days, or maybe even, it depends on the use case that you will have. It will kind of reduce that leading time for your services to be spin up. It uses, as I mentioned, so it uses REST API to extract the data, and it also, I'm going to show you in the demo, it also give you this kind of a pseudocode that you can quickly pick up, copy and paste within your code and start using it. And also the good thing is you can integrate this with your other services and a component that you have. You can export this to your ERP solution and you can start using that there. So you can actually drive the value to your end user, even to your application, quicker than usual. Before I go to the next slide, Azure Applied AI Services. It is a wrapper around cognitive services, and Microsoft tried to maybe make our life as developer easier, as well as our non-technical user as well, maybe I would say our expert user as well. So what happens is with Azure Applied AI Services, it's a wrapper which has cognitive services, plus the task-specific AI services, plus some workflow, let's say logic app. So it's a wrapper around the cognitive services, and it makes it maybe it empower or make it more intelligent to be able to use. So there are other applied AI services apart from Azure Cognitive Services, like bot services, metric advisor, video analyzer, and also immersive reader as well. And most importantly, they're all important, but the other one is Azure Cognitive Search. We kind of, as a user, we just need to see which one it's more suited to our use cases, and we can use those as we see fit. The other thing is, as I mentioned, everything is kind of based on Azure Cognitive Services. So if we see none of these use cases or none of the available services works for our specific use case, we can always go back and rely on Cognitive Services itself. Back to Azure From Recogniser. Azure From Recogniser provides different type of services. It will help us to be able to scan different type of documents, being PDF, image. It has differentiated APIs, where those APIs focuses on different part of documents. For example, there's a layout API, which only concentrate on the layout, the headers, the tables, the structure of your document. The other ones will take the content, it will give us the key pair values, and as I mentioned, all these processes has been done for us, so we just need to hook it to the services and to the API, get the outcome, use it later as one. It will kind of identify the relationship between different fields on our inside our documents, so it'll try to map different, as I said, key pair values, and you can like build more intelligent application with it. You can also use it with AI search for knowledge mining. You can add some business workflow behind the scene on top of it, and within the logic app as well. So you can, if you take one step back, there's a lot of use cases that you can use this for, and you can integrate it with different solutions. As I said, if none of those available feature within Azure From Recogniser fits your purpose, you can always go back to the cognitive services and you can use the services available there. With Azure Applied AI, there will be more services. I'm sure there will be more wrapper around more underlying services to make the process easier and make the use, and it will help us to use it more quicker when we want to set up something. So it's very helpful for developers. I'm going to explain the different version later on as well. It will support printed language as well as handwritten languages. So for handwritten one, it's like around 6 to 8 languages. For printed one, it supports more than 122 languages, and they will keep adding more languages to it. The majority is left to right languages, but I will explain a bit more about the other type of languages, which is right to left languages in my demo as well, which is really cool because if you see the use cases that you can use it with different languages. You can have documents or images written or have context or text from different type of languages, and you can easily extract those information and use it based on your use cases. You can have invoices across your company, or probably your company or organization might be spread across continent. So each region might have their own invoices, their own language, and you can use these services to kind of collect all the information and put it in one central place and use it, let's say, for knowledge mining. So you can surface the information quicker, and also you can derive some business value out of it. So you can kind of streamline your processes altogether. So it's kind of ease up the process, and it kind of help us to automate our data processing better and utilize it. We can utilize these services in better fashion, I would say. And I said that spinning the lead time, it's much quicker, much lower. So you don't need to spend months. You don't need to spend a lot of money. Even if you compare the time and the effort that you put, they're using these cognitive services, Azure From Recogniser is going to be the way to go. I've been talking about cognitive services a lot. One of the key services and underlying engine for From Recogniser is computer vision AI. So Azure From Recogniser uses OCR methodology to capture and extract the information, and that is what computer vision API provides and supports. So as you can see, everything is kind of connected. So there's a wrapper, and it gives us the Azure Applied AI services, but underneath everything is based on or cognitive services. Cognitive services are basically a bunch of REST API, but the hard part has been done by Microsoft engineers, and we just get to use the values that they provide to us. So back to the computer vision API, you can actually describe the image. So with the available APIs within computer vision, you can describe an image, you can get the facial emotion, you can have image analysis as well. So you can provide text, like you can provide images, and that can describe the image for you. Either it's a scene, it's a crowd, or if it's like, try to describe the text. It's not just to pick, okay, there's a table, there's a video, there's a person. It try to describe, for example, that person standing in front of a crowd. Something like that. You try to describe. So that is, I just want to make an example to tell you how smart it is. But the good thing is we can train our models, and we can train these services to be more accurate and actually works for our specific use cases. And as you can see, the From Recogniser is one of the features that it has already. The other thing is you can use it for analyzing, they call it spatial analysis, which you can analyze the video streaming. And one use case, especially during COVID, that they wanted to see within the crowd how many people are wearing masks. So with that, with the computer vision and with that specific feature of computer vision, they could like assess and capture, detect who's wearing masks, who's not wearing masks, and they can, for example, put those information or those data into Power BI dashboard and take some action, or even they can hook it to the Logic app and take some action with it. So as you can see, there's a lot of use cases that we can use. You don't need to know a lot about the engineering behind the scene, the actual how it's been built. It's already there for us to use, and we just need to hook it up. I created a prototype regarding this computer vision API. I didn't have any knowledge regarding to the API back then. And what I did, I just went through the documentation. I had one idea how, if I, for example, go to different countries, I'm not able to read anything. I go shopping, I'm not able to read anything from the boxes that I can see. So I was thinking, what can I do to easily maybe get the translation and understand what it says. So I use one of the Cognitive Services API to kind of build something quick to just take a photo, it will translate for you to your destination language, and I could read that language. It was like one pager, and it was, I guess I only write 10 lines of code. Everything else was written. I only needed to call that API. I just put the API key, and that was it. And it was very simple form that. So this example is just to show you how easy it is to start using these services. And you can intelligent your application down the track as well. Let's talk about Azure From Recogniser, which is one of the features available to us from Cognitive Services. So at the moment, currently version 2.1 is in GA, and there's another version which is in preview, version 3, and hopefully will be GA soonish. So we'll compare those two versions, and then we'll have a little demo as well. So as I mentioned, with Cognitive Services, there's a couple of APIs that has been provided, which are tailored to specific use cases that we can use. For example, Layout API, which the focus of Layout APIs is to grab or extract the construction of your form. Text, headers, footers, specific coordination of for example, coordination of the table, where it's at. Sometimes you need to know those information, like the logo of the invoices that you have. Sometimes you need to know and grab those information because you want to do something about it. So you want to grab it, replace it with something else through a code based on your use cases that you have. So you can use this API to extract those information without doing a lot of hard work to grab, and also you can understand the boxes, checkboxes, table, etc., etc. There is an invoice model, which is a pre-built model. As I said, Azure From Recogniser, it's based on the machine learning. So it already has some pre-built and pre-trained model that we can use. With invoice model, it is tailored specifically for sale invoices. And so it tries to cover most common sales invoices, especially in US at the moment. So rather than going and maybe create your own custom API or custom model, you can start off with the invoice model. It will give you more accurate result because it is tailored for invoices. If it doesn't suit your need, you always can go back to custom model. You can train it with your own specific data format or format that you have across your organization, and you can train the model based on your need, which suffices your requirement as well. Another one is receipt model. Receipt model, again, it uses for sales receipt as well. So it's similar to invoice model as well to extract information, but it's actually within US, and it tries to differentiate between two different type of invoices, if it's or receipt. So if it's invoice, if it's receipt, it could be different formats. So they try to like differentiate those two model, and they try to use that, train that model to make it, to give more accurate result at the end. The other one is ID document. So with US, they have this model to understand or be able to read out the driving license within US. But I believe that you can use it for other ID cards as well. I'm going to tell you why as well. I tried it myself with different features that are available, but I believe for now it is focused is in US, which it's like it says, okay, this is what we give, but I'm sure other regional, other formats are available as well. But because it's not right trained yet and it's underway, it will come after. But you can give it a go and you can try with different formats. The common and generic ID cards, it will support as well. So you can capture enough information from that. If not, you can always go back to the custom model, train it yourself and use it as well. Business card is the same. It says common business card information. So again, the same goes. The focus is in US, but I'm sure it will, because business card format is pretty much common across the globe, I would say. So the format is pretty simple: name, contact details, phone numbers, and I would say we'll pick it up as well. But having said that, I keep focusing that you can always go back to the custom model and train it based on your format, based on your requirement that you specifically have. But before going to the custom version, try it out with the available and existing one. If that doesn't work, you can always go back to the custom model. I'll go one step further. If none of these works, you can always go back to the root, which is Cognitive Services, and you can start using Computer Vision API to train that. But I'm sure this Azure Cognitive From Recogniser is good enough because it's been built. It has been built based on the top of Azure Cognitive Services. It's already using that services. But what I'm trying to say is there are ways for us to create an intelligent application. What we have in version 3, a little bit of update of the models that I already explained. One additional model to the party is general document model. Microsoft understood that the model that have been given might not be generic for all. So there might be other type of documentation that organization might have. So they created one generic document model, which is a combination of all these other models as well. So when you don't have any other option to go with, try the general document model first. If that doesn't give you enough information, go back to your custom model. Another update was regarding to the layout API. In version 2.1, it is an API, but in version 3, which is still in preview, it is they turn it to a model, so it's easier to use. Custom model, they support signature detection as well. So now you can, if you have a document that has a signature, you can extract the signature, you can store that signature. So it's actually good to maybe create like a personnel profile for your employees as well, so you can store those information. With the receipt model, they are adding more receipt type. For example, this one is a single page hotel receipt. As I mentioned before, it's mainly focused on US, but if it's a common receipt, I'm sure that other hotel receipt will, the information will be extracted as well. The last one is ID. In version 2, it was only driving license, but they are adding other registration as well, like vehicle classification, or I haven't tried with different type of ID cards, which I guess that will be my homework to do as well. So these are the key changes that is coming in our way in the preview. So it is in preview, but I'm sure in a few months' time we'll go to GA and we all can use it. What I'm planning to do in our demo time is to, another changes that has been introduced in version 3 is an additional tool called From Recogniser Studio, which wasn't there in version 2. In version 2, we only have like a sample labeling tool that we can like categorize our documents and tag our documents. So for that, I'm going to show you how it looks, but for that you needed to like actually create the services in Azure, and you needed to like pass the API endpoint and key to be able to see and tag your documents afterward. But with From Recogniser, it's a little bit more. So you can, without going around and start building, you can test the From Recogniser your form with the Form Recogniser Studio to see if it matches. You can decide what model to go by. So it actually gives you like a practice run, so you can see the output of that one. So this is the labeling tool, as I mentioned, which is in version 2. You can use the pre-built model, but as you can see, you can provide the endpoints and API key, and you just select. There's a little bit of manual work for you to be able to use this one. And it doesn't have all the options that we've been talking about as well. You can use your own custom model as well and train it and see how it works. But there's a little bit of like manual work. I mean, by manual work, I mean you have to like put the endpoints, API key, and endpoint and API key to be able to start working with it. But the cool thing with Azure Form Studio is that you can test it before actually getting into it. So as you can see, it has those options that I was talking about. There are some pre-built models: invoices, receipt, business cards, identity documents, and there is a layout, and as well as the general documents. So what I want to try and then underneath you can see the custom model. So I keep referring back to the same sentence. If none of these model works for you, go back and use custom form and train your own. If your documents or your business process is too specific, or if you have a specific or tailored version, you can use the custom model. All right, let's try it out with the layout. All right, I'll try with a couple of documents. So I'm going to use the one that is already been provided so you can see the difference, and I will put my own documents as well so we can test. And then on the general documents, I want to talk about the different languages, and I want to try those as well. All right, in this one, and with the layout model, what it does, as I mentioned, it will try to capture the component within your documents. It will try to capture the header. It will try to capture checkboxes, tables, the table content, and the information, whatever information that it can get, even the coordination of, for example, this cup logo that it has as well. So let me analyze it first. As you can see, it's pretty quick, and as you can see, it kind of highlighted the information that it could capture, different text and different sections, and within the JSON, you can see the coordinates as well. So the cool thing is, it is unstructured data, it gives me the structured JSON output. So that saved me a lot of time. I can quickly grab this JSON, create my data model, and start build my application using this, rather than doing it myself. Okay, what field it is, what the value I need to put. So rather than defining that gives me the JSON. So it kind of, as you can see, it already reduced my preparation time for development as well. With this tool, you can exclude or include some of the component as well. For example, you can say, I don't want to like pick up the checkboxes. So as you can see, it got highlighted as well. Same goes with the table as well. So when we update this form, we will update our JSON as well, and we can grab the latest information based on our selection choose. As you can see, for example, for the forms, it has the information. The information has already been captured for us. So it's already read the documents for us, and all the information are inside this JSON. The good thing is it kind of gives us the code sample that we can just copy and paste and use. The only thing that you need to do to put your endpoint and key and start using it. So this is the code behind this. Just analyze the documents. So you can like provide a blob storage link, or scan your document, put it in blob storage, and then call this API, or even scan your documents and call this API, and it does the same rest for you as well. It is available in the SDKs that I forgot to mention. The SDKs in version 3 are available in C#, Java, JavaScript, and Python. And the REST API document has got more information in it, so it got more completed, which has focused on the. You can download this and you can start using that as one. All right, let me try with one sample that I have, which is this one. So we can compare the time, how quickly it was. As you can see, it was pretty quick. So it kind of captured the documents that I have. The scan version is not very perfect, but it still could pick up the information. The table information was picked up, so I can see different information here. But as you can see, it doesn't give me like we're talking about the key pair value, it doesn't give me that. So the focus of the layout API is to capture the component, the structure of the document, the layout of the documents. So we have to see what is more important for us, to start off with the layout, or we want something more generic, or we have a specific use cases like invoices. So we have to define the scenarios or use cases, and then choose the right model for us. The good thing is we can give it a go here and then decide. So we don't have to write it and then decide. So we can test it here. Let's go back to this one. I want to maybe talk about general documents. I've been talking about invoices and receipt and business card, but I want to focus on general documents. So as I mentioned, if none of those specific use cases works for us, or example, some of us don't live in the US, right? So those components as of now is mainly tailored for the US use cases or documentation. I know there will be common cases across the globe regarding to invoices or other receipts, but let's say the focus is US. So So the other option for us is to use the general documents. That's what we can do. So general document is the combination of all these items. We'll see how accurate it is. If it's accurate enough, we'll use it. That's all good. If it's not, we can tailor it and either use one of those components, try it out. If not, we can go to the custom model and train it based on our own need. All right, let me try the generic document first. As I said, it's like a combination of everything. So it gives me the layout. It gives me the key pair value. As you can see, there's a difference between the general documents and layout model. It didn't have the key pair values. This one gives me the key pair values, which is more useful, which could be more useful to my use cases. And as you can see on the right, it gives me the accuracy or the confidence level of the findings. So as you can see, the information is pretty good. 1 is like 11. Maybe if that information is more important for us, we may need to do tagging, or we may need to train our model to make sure to pick up this specific field, for example. But the rest looks pretty good. And also it detects the table using the layout API to detect the table and even the information within that table. Similar to the layout, it has different options that you can exclude. I don't want to extract this information, or I want to extract this information. So you can tag the ones that you want, run it, analyze it, and it will give you the result as usual in a JSON format. So you can use this session as is, or you can remove the fields that you don't want, and it will give you the clean JSON output that you can use. Unstructured data, a structured JSON format, use it with the REST API and extend your solution. And as always, for our developers, it gives us the code. We can drag, copy and paste, start using it. So as you can see, it kind of reduces our time a lot. So it makes our lives easier, and it reduces the lead time for us to start the development as well. One thing I want to try out, even though I mentioned it's all languages. If you recall, I was talking about right to left languages and left to right languages. At the moment, the right to left languages, which we have, I guess, 8 to 10 right to left languages, is not supported just yet. But it will come into the picture. For example, one of the languages is Arabic. When I checked in Cognitive Services, last time when I checked, it was in preview. As I mentioned, From Recogniser, going back to my previous statement, From Recogniser relies on Cognitive Services. And whatever Cognitive Services provides, it will be available in Azure From Recogniser within months. So it's like behind it. So it's Azure for Cognitive Services is one step ahead of From Recogniser, I would say. So last time I checked, Arabic language was in preview in Cognitive Services in supported languages, but when I checked this morning, it was in GA. So it is good news that it's coming, and that goes with this other languages as well. Even though it's not supported in Azure From Recogniser just yet, I just wanted to give it a go and see maybe it works, maybe it not. I want to see what it does if I give it different type of languages. I'm going to put 2 documents. One is pure, let's say, Persian or Farsi language, which is another right to left languages. And the other one is a combination of English and Farsi. I just want to see how it will pick it up and how accurate it is. I know it's not supported just yet, but it can do a few things with it. All right, let's try with the one that has... I'll try it with the good use case first. So I'm using a combine. Oh, let me start with Arabic, actually. that's better. This is Arabic. Let me just zoom in. So I want to try it with the general document. So I'll kind of expect, it's not supported, but I kind of expect that at least it gives me the layout of the documents, like tables, structure. So that's my expectation. Let's see what information it can give us. It might give us something, it might give us nothing. So let's see. What I noticed that when it's not supported, it takes a lot of time to analyze, and sometimes it doesn't. And that is one of the cases that it doesn't, because it's not supported. I was just wanted to play around with it and see what is available, even though it's not announced. It takes a lot of time, so I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to try with another document, which is a combination of two languages. So it's bilingual documents. Let me refresh. That's easier. All right. I want to try a document that has both English and Farsi. This is it, right? So left-hand side is English, right-hand side is the Farsi, which is right to left languages. Let's see if we can pick it up. It is slower as a test one that I used, but it kind of picked something. It even picked the key pair values. Either because it is in the like a structured table, it could pick it up, I don't know. Or it actually can when there is a like a transcript of it. I'm not sure how it works behind the scene. I'm gonna dig in and find out more about it. But as far as I can tell, it is pretty accurate. So it gave me the information. English is pretty good. Even when I'm looking at the other language, it's pretty accurate enough. And you can see the confidence level here as well. So the last one, which was the longer sentence, the confidence level is very low because it's not recognized just yet. So, but it is coming. It is coming. So as you can see, it is available to some extent, and I'm sure they are working on it. Since Arabic has become public in Azure Cognitive Services, I'm sure in a few months' time we will see it in From Recogniser as well. When I tried, I guess I already showed you with the Arabic version. So I tried with the pure Farsi documents. It only could pick up like 2 words, but the JSON was not very useful as well. Same for this one. It gives me the JSON format as well as the code. So as you can see, it's pretty handy to test out your ideas or use cases before actually jumping into the coding. One thing that I want to mention regarding to this one is, even though if it's not available, you can always try different stuff. You can always, I was talking about the translation and the shop experience that I had. So you can always go back to the cognitive services, use a translate API and translate this content. The information has already been extracted, right? We can translate this information to our destination language, let's say English, and then we can use those data and surface those data to our customers. So we can streamline our data regardless of the language of the origin. So you can see what it can do. If you see the big picture, there's a lot that we can do. So the example that I was talking about, an organization has different offices across the world. They're using their own format. They're even using their own languages. So you can use that, combine it or integrate it with Translate API, which is one of another cognitive services available to us to extract the information, whatever language it is, translate it to my destination, which is English, put all the data in one central space for me. I'm going to hook it to Logic App. I'm going to hook it to ERP system that I have, and I'm going to start driving values to our customers and to our end user as well. I'm super excited about this because that reminds me, we had in one of our podcasts, we had two guests. The topic was related to AI in documents, and one of the questions was, does this support right to left languages? I know it's not the majority of languages that we've got, but we just wanted to see if the application actually has that, and they were working on it actually. So I'm not sure about the provider or the underlying infrastructure that they had, but they had this in one of their use cases that they are trying to build a solution which is kind of generic for all. So regardless of your language, you can use that system, and it was super cool because you can scan your documents. You can have different images. You're out in different countries. Different images has different languages, different written text. You can start understanding those texts. You can start capturing and extracting those information, and you can build and extend your application. You can create intelligent app with it. All right, that is for the demo. Let me go back and see if there's anything else that I want to talk about. I already talked about this. I keep going back to my statement. If none of this works, use the custom model. Train your own model and use it for your own specific and tailored use cases. Just a wrap on the use cases or the items or maybe the use cases, the generic use cases, and where you need to decide which model to use. So this is just a table that you can go by. I took this from Microsoft website, so you can. I'll put a reference at the end of the slide as well, so you can go and grab this information. As I mentioned it before, it is English-based, and it is invoice, receipt, or business card. You can use invoice, receipt, and business model to analyze your documents. If it's not, use a layout and general documents. If it's not, go back to the custom version. If you have ID documents, especially US ID documents like driving license or international passport, you can use ID document model. And if that didn't work, go back to the layout and general documents. If that didn't work, go back to the custom model and train your own model based on your specific use cases that you have. Same goes for with form and documents. Form and documents, as the name says, go with the layout model or even general documents, which is still in preview, but it will be available soon. If not, train and build your own custom model. So as you can see, there are many use cases that we can use with From Recogniser. And a lot of can be done without using a code. So without jumping and writing a code, we can try it out, see what works for us, and then choose which model to go by. Next, I want to talk about two use cases I'll give you an example and an idea how it's been used. For example, you're receiving invoices from your from the emails or inside the attachment. So you can use Logic Apps, grab those information, grab those attachments, put it in blob storage. You can have Azure function to kick off the computer, let's say image classification. You can have From Recogniser to extract the data and information from that form, and you can do basically whatever you wanted it. Once you have those information stored in one place and streamlined, so your data will be clean, your data will be categorized and tagged, you can use it in other areas. You can use it in Power BI, you can use it in ERP system as well. Think that you might have invoices, different invoices from your different departments. Each department might have, like finance has its own, sales has its own, marketing has its own invoices. So might have different version or formats of invoices that you may have across your organizations. What you can do with, for example, this specific use case, you can use custom image classification to categorize your invoices first and then pass it along the journey. So you actually have like a more streamlined data, and you, for example, the workflow behind the scene might do something with sales invoices, but for marketing, there is another use cases that you want to expand and extend your solution. So you can, as you can see, you can hook in or put in these bits and pieces of cognitive services and start using those services to tailor your business need as well. Same goes to the language as well. You have different departments, different languages. You can use the Translate API to translate your documents or your invoices, and then pass it along the journey to be used in Power BI, to be used in your ERP system, or create other application with it. It will help us to make our app and the data processing easier, and it will help us to make more intelligent app as well. It will reduce the manual intervention as well once we build this kind of solution as well. The other good use case that I really like is knowledge mining. For knowledge mining, I guess I'm sure every single company uses search. You join a company, you know nothing, and then you wanna start looking inside the information. Or you were in a meeting, something was mentioned, and you want to see what it is. Maybe people around you didn't know. So you want somewhere to, every single company, every single organization have a search engine. But what would be good is to be able to surface good information, all the available information to our end users. And knowledge mining is one of the things that's kind of helping organizations to be able to surface more accurate and more data relevant to their use cases as well. So in a high level, what within knowledge mining we do, we ingest data. Your data that can come from different sources. It can be structured data, databases, spreadsheets, or even it can be unstructured data, images, PDFs, videos, and even audios. For example, you are recording your meetings and you want to search based on the content within that meeting. So what you can do is, for example, because we can detect audio as well, right? So we can detect audio while you're using these cognitive services. We can detect the audio, convert that audio to text, like a subtitle that many other engines are providing nowadays as well. So you can convert that audio to the text, store that text somewhere, and once a user is looking for something that has those key text or key verbs in it, they will be able to link back to that actual recording of that presentation. I'm just thinking of different use cases that I can use it from. And it's not, initially it was a lot of hard work to be able to provide this information to our end users. For example, for PDF, somebody needed to like manually grab the information, write up a summary, and then store it somewhere, and then that will be exposed to the customers as well. But nowadays, it's not much easier. We can scan, we can extract the information with minimal, I would say, dev work, and then we can surface those information to our customers. So the very first step is ingest, use available customer services, being vision, language, speech, decision, search, to enhance or process the data that is available to us, and then surface those data to our customer using the search indexes, integrate those data to create business application, CRM being CRM, ERP, or any other system. You can create your dashboard within Power BI as well. So as you can see, there is a lot of use cases that we can use based on our need and our company's need. That is another kind of an example of the architecture of a knowledge mining that you can kind of see. It's kind of the same thing that I mentioned in the previous slide as well. You have different type or different data is coming from different source. So using the OR or text recognition, you can grab the text or extract the text of the images, PDFs, and then classify those information using AI services and cognitive services. You can read the documents using From Recogniser services, and then you can pass it along the journey. And you can use Azure Search. I was talking about applied AI services as well. So you can integrate and combine those services together and create a more powerful, intelligent app for your customer and for your end user as well. As you can see, there is a lot of use cases that we can use this form by. Alrighty, I'm going to share some of the links that you guys can grab. If you want to know more about applied AI services, here's the link. I'll pause here so you guys can grab the links. I will share it with the team as well so they can share it with you guys as well. If you want to know more about Azure From Recogniser, there's a link as well. Majority of the content that I presented today came from Microsoft website itself. There's an extensive documentation in Microsoft website. So if you want to learn, there's a quick start and learning a component within as well. So you can quickly start creating your services with creating your From Recogniser services within Azure, and you can start playing around with the studio itself as well. You can, if you're interested in AI, which I am too, you can always jump into AI School, which is provided by Microsoft, as well as AI Lab. So these lab and AI School, they kind of give you an interface to play around with different available cognitive services. And you can start playing around with different cognitive services and see what you can do. That can actually give you a good idea. The very first prototype that I played around came up from me searching through Microsoft website and see what they can do. And I thought, let me try it myself and see how big it is or how difficult it is to spin that one up. Some other use cases that you can use. I always talk about low-code, no-code solution. There are other places and components or other features that we can use. For example, in Power Platform, there is a component called AI Builder, and that has been built on the top of the based on cognitive services. And on that is specified for, let's say, business users. That is like low-code, no-code solution. So with the drag and drop, you can kind of create something quickly and drive values. So it is very useful for our non-developers or business users. That is a pretty good component to start play around. You can understand the good thing is the user interface is pretty much the same and consistent across Microsoft, which I really like. That keep it consistent, easier for everybody to understand. So I really suggest to try it out. That gives you a good way of automating your existing process within your organization. It has different use cases, which I can share in different topic and different session later on as well. And I would say, in the end, AI is here to help us and empower us to be able to do more with the technology. And I guess that's all that there is to it. I'm really excited about AI and what comes next with AI land and ML land. I hope you guys enjoyed this session. I was excited to be here as well, so I hope you guys enjoyed this session and had some takeaway from it. If you guys have any questions, here's my contact details. You can reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer any question that you guys have. Thank you.
Thank you, Somy. That was awesome.
My pleasure.
For putting that together.
My pleasure.
What made you decide to put together this presentation out of all the other topics you know?
I'm passionate about AI, and I'll go and see and maybe poke around and to see where AI can help us. Being a non-technical user or being a developer, because my background is I came from development as well. So I want to see where we can help out without doing a lot of, maybe, let's say, handiworks, a lot of the technical preparation.
Right.
So that's why I started looking around. As I mentioned in my last bit, I worked with a Power Platform a lot. So I tried to see what I can do with the minimal coding. So I found AI Builder, and I could see that there is a lot of good use cases that I can automate my processes without actually knowing what is happening behind the scene. I don't need to know how infrastructure has been set up. I don't need to know how those services have been built up. They're all there for me just to drag and drop and create those use cases. Right. The Azure From Recogniser, there's services that we can use. So there is coding and development involved. But this Azure From Recogniser Studio was a good thing, which I noticed that it's been introduced in version 3. Yes. I was excited because even Microsoft is thinking about its developer as well as the customer. So at the same time that we are trying to ease up our customers' life, for example, AI Builder within Power Platform, we are trying to make our developers' life easier as well. By using this studio, we can try out different use cases before actually jumping and coding.
Right. In terms of the use cases, do you have more of a situation where customers have digital data or paper data? Do they have unstructured data in PDFs everywhere, or do they have paper everywhere? What's the most common? The
most case that they have not so good quality of the PDF scanned PDFs. Right. That they want to extract information from. And the other thing is they have it stored in different data sources. So it's not a streamline, it's not in one central location. With, for example, AI Builder within Power Platform, or even with Azure From Recogniser, you don't need to put everything in one spot. You can grab those, integrate and hook into those data sources separately, grab the information, extract the information that you need, tailor and train your model, and then use it based on your category that you have, for example. So the thing is, it will kind of help us to reduce the overload or lead time for the preparation. Sometimes the process is too difficult that they stop thinking about it. I said, we forget about these type of documents, whereas those documents they might have content, a lot of good information. So either they had to go and rewrite those contents in a more digital fashion, or they have to come up with a different way. That gives them a good starting point. It's like a quick way to jump on and kick a start of those by using AI within the application, within the platform. They can quickly drive some values. I guess that's a key takeaway, that AI is trying to make our lives easier.
Okay. So going back to your journey, you started as a .NET developer, right? What have you got history doing, things like Form Recogniser before Azure Form Recogniser?
I used it within AI Builder in Power Platform.
Yes, but anything before that, prior to that?
Before that, no, I was mainly working with Cognitive Services itself on the underlying engine. So I was using the text recognition, the computer vision API. I was using the translation API as well. So I was using the search API as well. So I was using directly the cognitive services, not the applied AI services. So that's how I started with the cognitive services. I got to know.
How far back was this?
Should I include COVID time or?
It will be cool.
Yeah, it will be, I guess, 4 or 5 years, maybe.
Right.
4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't know anything. I've been hearing about AI and ML back then. I didn't know how it works. I had like technical background. I could write a code, but I didn't know how these things works.
Right.
And the first time when I got to work with it, I went through the documentation within Microsoft Documents, and it was easy to follow, and it was easy to implement. So it was like steps, go do this, do that. This is the piece of code. You can add your code, of course, but you can quickly see the outcome. And it was super cool to see how easy it is. Even for me that didn't have that knowledge, it was easy for me to build something.
Right.
The example that I gave you on the shop experience, you can translate. It was something that I put together maybe within 2 weeks' time, just by learning how AI works and just putting that code together. It was like 10 lines of code for me to create that single web page app. And it was like, I can deploy it to my mobile app and start using it.
Amazing, amazing.
It is amazing what you can do with AI. It is so exciting. That's why I'm passionate about it. And I go around and see where AI has touched our life as well.
Right, okay. So when you were doing this, are you doing this for Aussie companies or international companies?
It was my personal.
A personal one.
Actually, I was preparing presentation for Azure Bootcamp that year.
Right.
And I had like few months to prepare something. I was using, it was before actually I got to the AI Builder with Power Platforms. That was my first encounter with AI itself. So I had to learn, I had to prepare something, and I shared my learning in that bootcamp as well. Then because of my learning, I got to work on the projects that were kind of AI related within the Power Platforms. As I said, there's a component called AI Builder, which is another wrapper around cognitive services.
And what was the basic business problem of that real project?
They wanted to automate their business processes. So what they have like users request, I don't know, to get access to different services, to different systems. Normally they had like a very like Google form or old form. Either been Microsoft, it was
structured data.
It was a structured data that they could sign up. The other thing that they had like business cards from the customers that they were like meeting up in different events. They wanted a way to be able to quickly capture those information. And within AI Builder, there's a pre-built model called a business card model that you can just train. If you have like, I don't know, 10, 15 set of ID cards, you can train your model, and you can create a Power App.
Right.
You can deploy that Power App to your app. Whenever my consultant goes to any events, they can quickly scan those documents, scan those ID cards. Those information comes back to our system. We use like Logic app to like maybe send an email or store those information in our system somewhere else as well.
Right. Okay. So I noticed you included some stuff there about right to left languages.
Yes.
Obviously, we're left to right language. You included that not just out of curiosity and because of your experience being a developer back in Iran. When you were back there, how many systems that you came across didn't support right to left and you found that annoying?
If we were using like global-wide softwares, that's where the problem was, because most of our documentation within our organization, as a developer, we were using English-based framework to use to code. But within the organization, like I would say 100%, not 90% of the documents were written in different languages, which was right to left languages, was in Farsi. The organization we're dealing with like foreign companies. Yes, they had like a different version. They had like translator, interpreter to do the stuff for them, but nothing was automated back then. I'm talking about like 10 years, 20 years back. I'm not sure how it is nowadays.
Everything was in English in the systems?
No, in the system that we built, no. We had to kind of use the different keyword, and like, so we kind of support English. When we deploy a website, we kind of support English as well as Farsi. Right. And so we had to like create two kind of user interface for that. But nowadays with this Translate API, you can quickly translate and you need to do less coding. There's a little bit of like complex stuff that you need to prepare to make it work, but there are use cases that you can use. Specifically, what I can see that it's going to be helpful is for the organization or companies that they have different invoices written in Farsi, but they want to send it out to different companies, different countries. They had to get some person to translate for them or to create another documents. Yeah. But with this, it will be much easier. Scan it, it will translate it, give you another format. So even scan the digital signature and pass it along. So it will ease up the process. I can see a lot of use cases that I can go back and start using. I'm sure they're doing it nowadays, but I haven't been there for quite some time. So, but I'm excited to see, because I guess Microsoft is Is it inclusive? So it's everything. We have to care about everything and every single case, use cases. Even though right to left languages are not the majority languages, but I'm so happy and excited that Microsoft is considering those languages as well. And as I said, Arabic has become a GA in Cognitive Services itself, so I'm sure other languages will come into the picture soon.
But that's not what you needed, which would be Farsi, right?
Yes.
So let's assume that we have Azure From Recogniser, and you want a fix for that now. Is there a fix? How would you do a workaround for that?
What I would do, I would use a translate API in between. So with this, I will use the customer computer vision. I will extract the text, I will translate the text, and then I'll use this Azure From Recogniser services for me to do the rest.
And how much extra work is that workaround? It sounds simple.
It sounds simple, but it might be a little bit more work, but it is doable. The good thing is I don't need to worry about the translating because the translation is available. Actually, the translation for different languages are available, and Farsi and Arabic are included in those languages. So we can quickly translate to our target languages, which is good, and then I can use it through my system.
Okay.
And I can see the benefit of that. Even if it's not Farsi, different languages, different companies across different continents might have their own language. And I can see a lot of use case on that one. And I would go and try out that one. I'm sure it will be available soon, but till then, I can go back to Cognitive Services and use another API there.
Yes. All right. So in summary, if you're a Power BI, if you're a Power Platform developer, and you do Power Apps and you can do Flow, you're doing all the very basics. If you can read and write data from Dynamics and stuff. But what you're saying is you really want to up your skill set, so you're using many of these AI pieces. So you're, a power developer. What do you call a kind of a Power Platform developer that knows all the AI stuff?
Oh, that's a difficult
Do you
question.
consider yourself a Power Platform developer?
I consider myself a Power Platform user, or maybe...
Not a user, a developer.
Yeah.
Well, not just using it.
No, yes, I can. Yes.
So, like a power user, I guess.
I can be a power user.
Right. Okay.
That helps us to create... So the AI builder within the Power Platforms, which is part of the Office 365, it's kind of add intelligence to your application. Power Apps was there to help our non-technical users to be able to quickly create applications, automate their processes. Even the flow itself, it's easy, like drag and drop. They had some more complex use cases that you need technical knowledge to be able to do, but in a nutshell, non-technical user can spin up something quickly. AI builder component was added to help those users to add intelligence to their flow, as well as to their Power Apps as well.
Right. So if you are a Power Platform developer and you're just doing, forms over data solutions right now, the first step you can do to put some intelligence in is when you're saving records, check that the data is intelligent. It's not out of the bounds of normalcy.
That is true to normalize the data, but even I use AI before that. I use AI to scan the documents. I use AI to extract information from any images that I have from that application. It depends on the use case that your application has. I will use AI before that.
Right.
So everything within AI, as well as Power Platforms, is all about data. So it's for us to be able to normalize or cleanse our data upfront and then start using it.
Clean the data and then
use it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
We can either do it before or after. It really depends on your use cases.
Okay.
There's a lot that we can do with AI.
Well, thank you very much, Somy. That was
My
awesome.
pleasure.
And I will see you guys in the next one.